Katie Baker. What's up, KB? How are you? Welcome. This is day 30 of 30 Days of Live Content, sales training with me, Joey Nanai of Nanai Consulting. Thank you for joining, Katie Baker. And this one is one that's dear to my heart. What are some closing tips that will help you win new business? So I'm going to give you closing tips and just some tips in general as well as part of this day 30 of 30 Days of Live Content. Okay, cool. So let's start, right? One, and it's one that salespeople fail at all the time. Not all salespeople, but the amateur ones anyway, the ones who haven't taken the time to learn their craft, haven't taken the time to train, drill, and rehearse their sales knowledge. And that's don't give a discount to win the business. Unfortunately, a lot of salespeople give discounts when they weren't asked for them. This comes down to insecurity. It comes down to lack of skill, lack of knowledge, and a subservient approach. You've already placed yourself below the prospect as opposed to on equal terms or on par. If your best argument for why your prospect should buy is something like, I'll give it to you for 50% off, you've already lost the battle. Long term, that's not a great strategy to have, because all you have done for your prospect is you've conditioned them to think, oh, after a quarter or after 6 months, I can ask for another discount. Or when they have another product come up, I'll ask them for another discount and expect 50% again. And they're most likely to give it to me because they gave it to me this time without me asking. So there are instances where you have to give a discount, and giving a discount is justified, but when a customer doesn't ask for it, don't just give it. That's a tip that you can use if you have a product or service to sell, or you're selling business to business. Cool. Next one. Ask the question, is there any reason if we gave you the product at this price that you wouldn't do business with our company? So that's a great question to ask. Either you get a yes, or you flush the prospect's remaining objections. You bring it out into the open. And the question again is there any reason if we gave you the product at this price that you wouldn't do business with our company? This will get the real reason why they wouldn't do business with your company. What's up, Moses Tusa? How are you, man? Excuse me. Okay, so the next tip I have for you guys when it comes to closing, avoid manipulative closing techniques. And these are techniques which prospects are now sophisticated enough and knowledgeable enough to recognize and trained to walk away from. So avoid those manipulative closing techniques. And if you want some help on what those might look like, get in touch. Go into negotiations with a few non-monetary concessions to offer, so you can negotiate on terms other than price. Yeah, so this is what you should do instead of discounting. Instead of negotiating on price, negotiate on the concessions that you have. Either making terms longer or shorter, depending on what it is. You could throw in extra products, depending on, so it's always got to be give and take. So what you don't want to do is get into a situation where you're giving concessions and not getting anything in return from the prospect. The prospect has to give you something in return. Some kind of IOU. So favor for favor. You may do things like contra, if you know what contra is, where you it's basically a bartering system for services instead of products or that kind of thing. Hey Blossom, how are you? Show me the money. That's a great sales tip there, Katie Baker. Show me the money. Hey Libs, you're up early, mate. I'm just going into some general ones. When you're in a bit of a sales slump, set a couple small achievable goals to create momentum and boost your confidence. So, yeah, a couple of small achievable goals that you can hit. This will help you achieve your confidence, get you into a bit more of momentum. Because when you get a bit of momentum, you get more confidence, and you start feeling better, and your energy levels get better. Cool. To make better, more deliberate choices, choose a sales mission statement and use it to guide your decision-making process. That's pretty straightforward, really. Do you even have a sales mission statement, guys? This next general tip for any salesperson or any person in general who's looking to better themselves. You've got to believe in what you sell. If you don't believe in what you sell, why the hell should anybody else, right? Why should your customer or your prospect believe in what you sell? If you, the salesperson, don't, this is something I test salespeople on all the time whenever they're trying to sell me something or they're trying to sell a product that they want some advice on. I always ask them, well, if you had the budget, would you buy your product or service? If you had the need for it, would you buy it? And if the answer is no, I'm always questioning. I'm always saying, hey, look, maybe you're not in the right line of work because you obviously don't believe in what you sell, and you just it just sounds like you're money focused. If you believe that all you have is your transaction, you'll never get there. You have to build a product that's so damn extraordinary that you know that you're inviting people into what is absolutely a beautiful and long-term relationship. That's a really cool statement. The author of Never Eat Alone, it's a really cool sales book by a man called Keith Ferrazzi. So the next tip, directly address complaints from clients and demonstrate how you improve, and then do it. And you've got to do these things straight away. When it comes to complaints, you've got to deal with them in a real urgent matter. Cool. Next one, your sales manager can be an incredible source, but you'll need to ask the right questions. Some people call this managing up. So you've got to be able to ask the right questions of your sales manager. Don't forget, your sales manager is a human as well, and they really do want you to be successful. If they don't want you to be successful, you'll be able to find that out through the questions you ask and the responses you get. If the responses you get are those of, I don't have time to answer your questions, then maybe your manager's not really invested So I would look into that. You've also got to ask questions that are typically awkward or hard to ask of people in those kind of positions. Like when you're asking a sales manager a question like, "So, why do you think we lost this deal? Hey Vanessa, maro lauli." And when you're asking them with words, "Why do you think?" as a way to start your question, that's much better than why. Just a why question. Why is that? So why do you think is good? Because you're engaging their intellect, and managers actually respect that. Set and stick to clear activity goals to keep yourself on track when you're feeling unmotivated. So this is just about the word focus, really. Stay focused. Attend core reviews. If you're attending core reviews, your core reviews could be debriefing your meeting you just had or your phone call you just had. And if you're not running these, you're missing a huge opportunity to improve your sales performance. So debrief everything. Write it down, even if it's just with yourself. Do it. Debrief with yourself. Because it crystallizes in your mind what just happened, where the room for improvements are, what you could have said and instead of what you did say. So yeah. Never stop learning. Keep your knowledge of the product up to date. Role play sales calls and read industry news. These are powerful for salespeople to hone their skills and get better as salespeople. So, products are always getting updated and upgraded and change. Because of technology these days, you can never really be on top of your product knowledge every single day. So you've got to consistently get up to date with your product knowledge. Because your prospects or the market will test you on your product knowledge with the questions that they ask or the challenges that they present to you. Role play sales calls and read industry news. So when you role play sales calls, you can role play to yourself in your car when you're driving around, or you could role play to yourself when writing yourself emails and responding to yourself if you're that way inclined. But it's always cool or best to get somebody else, another person, and you want to give them a framework to work by. Maybe give them a scenario and say, hey, look, just ask me some typical questions that a prospect would ask of us salespeople in our industry. Industry news is always good for keeping up with the trends, keeping abreast of what's out there in terms of what your ideal customers should be looking out for. Because if you are providing insight to your customers, they will appreciate this, and it will also place you as the expert in your field. So next time they think about your industry, guess whose name pops up when they think of your industry? Yours. Because your name has now become synonymous to them with the industry that you work in. And you want to be seen as the expert in your field. So research shows the top salespeople are a few things, right? They're resilient, they're empathetic, and they're ambitious. These three traits or characteristics will show you a top salesperson, because this all leads to great sales. Why? Because it shows you a salesperson who's not fazed by negative surroundings or things that happen. They are looking at things from the eyes of the customer, and that's always good. And they have forward thinking, and they're thinking about success, really. So focus on honing in on those characteristics. Your mantra should always be helping rather than always be closing, or something to that effect. The always be closing, the ABC thing that I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Glenn Ross. Always be closing was a phrase that came about from that movie. It's old school way of selling. It's old school way of thinking as a salesperson. And you don't want to be thinking about that in 2019 and moving forward. Always be helping. It basically means you always be selling. Helping is selling. Always go the extra mile, meaning that you should keep calling, keep emailing, keep scheduling meetings, even if it's the last day of the month and you've already made 175% of whatever quota you've been given, right? And that speaks to what I said in a previous live about always filling your pipeline, because this will help with your rejections as well. When you get rejected and you've got a full pipeline, it doesn't matter to you so much, as opposed to if you get rejected with no pipeline. The feelings are different, because when you've got a full pipeline and you get rejected, you can brush it off easier. Cool. If you're a new salesperson, or you're a salesperson that's not really doing well, take the top performing salespeople at your company out for lunch and ask for their advice on selling your product. I don't know if any of you know Katie, who's on this live right now. She's a top performing salesperson, and someone, if I was a new salesperson, I'd take her out for lunch to get her advice. Cool. So get the advice of a top performing salesperson at your company if you're in a sales role or you're looking to get into sales. Find out who it is that is in a sales role. Take them out for lunch or a coffee. Cool. Protect your time. You only have so many selling hours in the day, so everything else should be done after hours or not at all. So basically what this means is, as a salesperson or a person in a business, or even if you're a sole trader or one-man band business owner, think about it in terms of paid time, because all your prospects and your people, your customers who buy your product or your service, they're most active during normal business hours. And that's the best time for them. They're most responsive during normal business hours. So that's the best time for them to be doing business with you. And what that means is you got to think of your time in terms of, okay, 9 to 5 is my normal paid hours. So think of it in terms of paid time versus non-paid time. The non-paid time is after hours. So anything that's non-paid activity, do it in after hours. Unless it's during your lunch or a break or in between meetings or that kind of thing. Cool. Don't forget that work-life balance is an important part of staying productive, not to mention happy. So always strive for work-life balance. Making sure that one part doesn't impede on the other. Look for team members who will motivate you to get better and encourage you when you're down. So, some people consider themselves a lone wolf or lone ranger when it comes to sales teams or teams in general, because they've learned how to succeed on their own. In this day and age, though, you still need teammates for certain things. For instance, when you're down, you need that little bit of encouragement and motivation. So surround yourself with good people, and when it comes to the tough times, they'll help you up. Although sales is one of the toughest professions out there, a great manager or coach and or mentor can really be a big help. So if you're going to find yourself a mentor or a coach or a manager, make sure it's somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that can really help you get to the next level, help you out of a slump, help you find yourself in whatever field that is, whatever industry. So because every buyer is different, you can't set your sales cadence in stone. Instead, monitor prospects' interests and how they interact with your brand. So downloading a white paper, for instance, is entirely different to a contact request. If you're a sales manager and you have a salesperson struggling with the sense of urgency development, make sure you schedule a weekly meeting to review all the new opportunities created that week. That's for sales managers. So that's it, guys. That's what I have for you, and that concludes the 30 days of live content. What are some closing tips that would help you win new business? What I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to do another live to recap everything that we've done, but also I've got some real special news to share with you all, and I'm going to be asking something of a few of you. And thank you so much for everyone that has joined the lives and has taken in the content that I've shared with you during the 30 days of live content. I know some of you have gotten some value from what I've had to share in terms of insights. And I know there's a few others there that have questions and challenges that they've shared with me and want to share with me. Please continue to do so. I am contactable via Messenger, so we can take it offline if you have any scenarios or situations around selling, closing, negotiating, or any kind of communicating where you have to convince another party to buy your product or hire your services, or exchange goods or things of value. So yeah, that ends our 30 days of live content, but please keep or stay tuned. I'm still going to be going live. I'm going to do another live tomorrow to cap off the month, but also I've got a really special announcement to make. Yeah, so stay tuned and check out my Nanai consulting page, or join Nanai page, which I will post up on my personal page as well. All right, guys, have a good evening or a good morning over to you guys in the UK, and a good day if you're in the USA. Cheers, guys. See you soon.